to Varsity. I'm Bob Prisbilla. Joining me as always is Scott Wright. Scott, this week we're going to look back at week 4, look ahead to week 5. As always, give you our lock of the week, and as always, let you know where you can find us this week. Scott, week 4 saw a lot of crazy things happen. What stood out the most to you?
You know, one thing that has really kind of been a trend that we've seen coming along in Class 5A is just how strong they are at the top of that class. We saw it again this week with Guthrie over Deer Creek, a team that was at number 7 in the poll. But when you look at those top 6 teams, there just seems to be a really big gap between them and the rest of the class right now. We've seen it with Carl Albert. Tulsa Washington is obviously a very talented team. Some of those other teams that are up there at the top of that class are really, really good. It's just going to be interesting to see the way that plays out down the stretch.
5A is pretty top heavy. You're definitely right about that. And what I took from last week was how deep 6A is. Teams like Edmond Memorial and Southmore both expected to earn easy district wins to start out the district season. Both were upset, and both were playing without some of their key stars. But this is a big loss for both teams because they both have to play games later on in the season that are toss-ups, and there are some games that you kind of go into mind thinking, well, we're going to get this one, but we need to look ahead to this one. But the Bulldogs went down to Putnam City North, and Southmore lost on a last-second field goal attempt that went wide against Muskogee. And now both teams, I still have them ranked in the top 10, but both are going to have, they're going to have to fight from a deeper hole than I thought they would have to at this juncture. Now we look to week 5. It's the midway point of the season. Can you believe that?
No, it's already here. And when you look at where we're at in the season, and you start to think about where we thought some of these teams would be, one of the interesting games this week is Del City and Putnam City. I think that Del City is a team that we thought was going to be pretty good, and they've had some up and down struggles to get to this point. Putnam City, we thought maybe they'll be okay. They're off to an unbeaten start at 4-0, and now these two teams meet up. A really big district game in this district where there's a lot could happen down the stretch. You don't know really. It's hard to kind of predict the playoff field in that district at this point. So this is a huge game for both of these teams. The winner of this game has a leg up in trying to make a run at the playoffs here early on in the district season. So this is a huge game this week.
Talk about surprises. Going into the season, we were thinking that the Bridge Creek offense, they're so good, they're not going to surprise people. But the Bridge Creek defense won that game last week against Tuttle, a 12-6 game. I never would have predicted only 18 points being scored in that game. But now the challenge is to bounce back. You don't want that emotional letdown. And this week they're going at Weatherford. This is definitely a trap game, I think. The Eagles are 0-4. They're not what they were last year. But if you're a really good team, which I think the Bobcats are, this is the type of game where you have to take care of business. Moving along, let's talk about our locks of the week. Scott, go ahead.
Well, I'm sitting here at 1-3 so far in my locks of the week. So if you've got a gambling problem, or if you've got a bookie that sets lines on high school games, go load up on Coweta. I'm going with Tulsa East Central. Coweta's been a really good team so far this season. Bubba Burcham doing a great job in just a couple of years on the job up there. That's a good football team, but I think they're going to run into a little bit too much with East Central. I talked about the top-heavy 5A, and I think that this is going to be another example of that. I'm going with Tulsa East Central, hoping to get back on the winning streak for my locks of the week.
For me, I've kind of become the unofficial Jones writer here the last couple weeks, and Jones has a brutal schedule here coming up, and they got a date with Millwood that they're all looking forward to next week, but they got to get through Morris first. I think they will. Morris is coming off a huge win against Stroud, so I'm not going to discount them, but the Longhorns offense has really come alive, and I think for me that was the biggest question going into the season. They've answered it. This team is for real, and I think you can book this one down. It's going to be Jones. And finally, Scott, where can we find you this week?
Well, I've got a couple of interesting games. Thursday night, I'll be at Norman for the unbeaten Tigers hosting Shawnee, who is now without their quarterback Brayley Brown, one of the top quarterback recruits in the state. Injured his shoulder, moved out to receiver now because he can't throw. No risk of further injuring that shoulder, so he can still help the team out there. But an interesting game nonetheless. And then on Friday night, I'll be at Mustang. Edmond North comes to town. The Broncos look to be maybe getting things on track a little bit better despite the 1-point loss at Lawton. This is a big game again in that District 6A2 where you don't know what's going to happen.
Thursday, I will be on the couch, just using the remote control, flipping through the Cowboys in the college game and all the high school games. A rare night off for yours truly. Then Friday, I will be at Chickasha for what should be a beautiful and emotional scene. The first home game for the Chicks since the death of Cody Turner. It's going to be quite the scene there Friday night. Well, Scott, we appreciate you joining us. That's all the time we have for this week. But you can catch us every day at newsok.com/varsity for the best high school coverage anywhere.